In the Great Lakes, you got Harris by 2 in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, well within the margin of error. How about in the Sun Belt, though? It's even tighter. You got a 1-point race in Nevada favoring Kamala Harris. You got a less than 1-point race in North Carolina, Trump ahead, but we're talking about like 0.2 percentage points. Arizona, a 1-point advantage. Georgia, a 1-point advantage for Donald Trump. The race, very, very close. Now, let's just say the polls were exactly right. What does that mean for the electoral map? Well, it would mean a really tight race. Look at this. Kamala Harris getting 276 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 262, mostly on the basis of winning these Great Lake battleground states, despite the fact that Trump carries 3 of the 4 Sun Belt battleground states. But the bottom line is, Kate Baldwin and dear audience, this race is tight, tight, tight.
Now, in the realm of playing the hypotheticals.
Yes.
So let's do that.
Yes, I love those.
Comparing how, if the polling is off, like it was in 2020, what would that do to the electoral map?
So look at Donald Trump's electoral vote total right now, if the polls are exactly right, 262. But let's say the polls are off like they were back in 2020. Look where he goes. He goes to 312. Why is that? Because the polls underestimated Donald Trump in 2020. So the bottom line is, instead of losing those Great Lake battleground states, he wins all of them. He obviously holds on to North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, and he gains Nevada. So if the polls are as good as they were in 2020, despite the fact that at this particular hour, Donald Trump trails in enough states to give Kamala Harris the victory, if the polls are off like they were in 2020, Donald Trump would actually win the election.
And new polling out today points to an overarching theme. The race for the White House will likely be one of the tightest contests in modern American history, with Harris and Trump deadlocked across several battleground states. In Pennsylvania, the state that could determine the election, a new CNN poll of polls shows the two candidates in a dead heat race with no clear leader. Let's turn now to CNN senior data reporter Harry Enten for a deeper dive on all of this. Harry, obviously the race on a razor's edge, and this new polling out of Pennsylvania, this new analysis, there's a lot to decipher there.
Oh, there's so much to decipher, Boris. I mean, I woke up at 4:30 this morning looking at all the polling data. I got no sleep. I was deep down on the spreadsheets. And here's the reason why. Look at this. We have gotten a bevy, a slew, a buffet of polling, whatever way you want to put it. Harris in Trump in Pennsylvania. This is the margin. Quinnipiac, you got 5 for Harris. How about the New York Times? You got 4 for Harris. Franklin and Marshall, 3. You notice we're coming down the line. Trump's doing a little bit better. How about the Washington Post? Just a 1-point lead for Harris, well within the margin of error. And Marist College, a tie. So the bottom line is, looking at this data, you see perhaps a slight lead for Harris, but then you work your way all the way back to your right side of the screen, and you get a tie. As you put it, my dear friend, very tight in the Keystone State.
And how about this new fresh Michigan and Wisconsin polling that's come out over the last day?
Yeah, all right. So I gave you 5 polls here. That's a lot of numbers to digest. So let's kind of dive in. We're going to look at Michigan, we're going to look at Wisconsin, and we're going to look at Pennsylvania, and we're going to basically close it in on an average, right? Take it all together, package it up, nice bow on the top of it to make it easy. So this is the Great Lake battleground states. In Michigan, +2 for Harris. Pennsylvania, you mentioned at the top, +2 for Harris. How about Wisconsin? +2 for Harris on average. The bottom line is, Boris, in these battleground states, it is so tight. No clear leader. Now, what does this mean for the electoral map? Because I think that is so important. You look at this and you say, okay, these numbers, what do these exactly mean? Let's talk about the race to 270 electoral votes, all right? Now, what I'm going to do in this situation is I'm going to say that the polling averages are right on. Now, they could be off by a little bit, and Trump could benefit from that and win with those polling averages the way they are. But let's just say the polling averages are right on. So we'll give Kamala Harris Wisconsin. We'll give her Michigan, and of course we'll give her what I think is the most important state in this election, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you give Kamala Harris all 3 of these states, even if she loses in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, here's the key number. In the race to 270, she would get to exactly 270 electoral votes. But if you just took one of these states away, Boris, she would fall below that margin. So that is why you led this off by saying it is the closest race in a generation. It has been that way nationally. And when you look at these battleground states, there's no other way to describe it, my dear friend, than too close to call.
There is also the possibility, Harry, with these razor-thin margins, that if she somehow loses that congressional district in Nebraska, that the one in Omaha, that one electoral vote, we could be thrust into a tie, and then it's up to the House of Representatives. So a lot of things are possible there. What I want to ask you about, though, Harry, Taylor Swift, a lot of this polling has come out since she endorsed the vice president. Does this new polling find anything interesting in terms of her popularity with voters?
I think it does, because we always talk about Taylor Swift and the young vote. I think that might not necessarily be all that correct. At least depends on your definition of young. All right, this is Taylor Swift's net favorability rating. I want you to look at voters, likely voters under the age of 30. It's just +6 among Generation Z. It's actually our generation, Mr. Sanchez, which is where Taylor Swift is the most popular. Age 30 to 44, where her net favorability rating is +18. So if you're a big fan of Taylor Swift, chances are you're giving away your age in a way you might not want to. It turns out that the Taylor Swift fans are more likely to be a little bit older than I think is commonly assumed, and that might not be necessarily good news for me or for you or for our dear friend Brianna.
Harry, I think you've got to recalibrate your definition of young. Just a bit of advice. Just a bit of advice. Harry,
No.
No?
Don't try and get rid of me that easily. We're not.
I don't know.
I
Adjust
think
the
my
standard
definition of young is
deviation.
right.
Adjust the standard deviation, Harry. It's time.